What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's episode you guys are going to finally see the white Notchback running, which is going to be sweet. And you're going to see, after we show you what we've done to it so far, why we're driving in a car that's not the white Notch to go get the white Notch. But more on that later in the video. So let's check in. Dan has an update on what was done to the Notch and showing you guys the engine bay finished, and then we'll show you guys the first startup, and then we're going to... What's that?
It was like 95% finished.
It was almost finished. Almost all the way finished. And then we'll get back to us, what we're doing right now, going to get the Notch without driving the Notch. Alright. See you guys in a minute. Good morning, everybody. Well, it's been a little while since we updated you on the white Notch, but it is all complete, minus the catch can. But we have it, we just got to install. Tucked all the wires, obviously what needed to come to the battery did. We utilized this little hole, put a grommet around it, kept it nice and clean. For the battery pros, this one had to be rotated so it wouldn't hit the hood, but cleans up, keeps all the wiring on that side. No more wiring along there either. All nice and clean. All the wires you see here obviously is some of the MSD stuff, which goes with the box, and then that goes all everywhere through the front. Like the wire tucked it, you saw that, I believe. And then we got the spark plug wires, everything all good. All the vacuum lines are routed, map sensors mounted. Should be ready to fire here shortly. Got all the interior back together, minus the seats, because we are waiting on a hood release latch, because the one that was in the car was no good. It was half broken, and then when you had to take the rest, when you took it out the rest of the way, it was super frayed, so it's gonna get a new one of those obviously as well. Interior is all back together. Terminator's up in that corner where the factory one used to be. All nice and tight, all the relays and everything all tucked up nicely. Loomed and ran the wires up and under, and it's all good, you don't even notice. Obviously, like I said, we did a little add-a-fuse there for that. That side's all in. Fuel pump is all wired up and good to go. And I also mounted the mounted right up in there. So you're able to still pull it up and out if you need to. And it should work just as neat. When you're driving, you can still monitor everything that you need. Holley probably won't really need to do that. Just kind of just a set it and go type of thing for her for this car. But, you know, people want to data log and watch and make sure everything is good, all the vitals are good. Just open it up, pull it out, put it on your lap, and you'll be good to go. We didn't want to mount it outside in the view, you know, in your eyesight all over the place, because then constantly see that, at least in terms of for this car, for Holley, she doesn't need to really look at that all the time. You know, maybe if it was someone else's car who was a little more fixated on the numbers and the values and making sure everything's all good there, they might want it somewhere else. But I think this is nice and clean, and you're still able to hold it out and put it somewhere else if you want to look at it and be able to monitor while you're driving. So that's all good. Everything else works. Lights. See if you hear your fuel pump. Boom. Everything's all good. No leaks in the fuel lines. Obviously, as you saw, we replaced all new factory fuel line stuff. But boom. Look at that. Nice and trick. All set up, ready to go. We're about to fire it up here in a sec. I got to wire in this trans switch for overdrive so they can have a little switch. We're probably thinking to put it like right towards like the shifter area somewhere around here, so I can just easily switch it. I don't know, maybe we could put it inside of here. We'll see. They already have some sort of radio dial in here for something. So I took out the ashtray, and that's all in there now. Got to wire the horn back in for the alarm, since that was there just to disable the coil originally for the, you know, so no one could steal the car. And that's about it. Everything else works. Lights work, horn works. So yeah. And like you heard before, fuel pump obviously primes. The exhaust, we are not too happy with the fit and finish on that just yet. It's not fully bolted in yet, but sadly it'll have to be addressed when it's on the ground. We'll put it on blocks and then realign, touch all the exhaust stuff up, because the ball and sockets don't fit with the pipes versus the Flowmaster tailpipes. the pipes H pipe versus full master tailpipe. So we couldn't start it the other day because we didn't have an oil line. I got a new oil line made, so it actually 45s off of. If it'll focus down there, probably won't. But down there on the oil log, it was straight off, and it was really close to one of the Vortec brackets. So we had to get a 45 on the end of that to kick it up nicely towards the blower. But yeah, so got all the wiring up and tucked in there. Nice and clean. Hopefully the fender fits. I'm sure it will, but like I said, I got a positive post there, which goes up into the battery right there. I think it looks pretty good for all, like you said, all used parts. It's playtime. So just got to tighten these two, and I think we're gonna fire it up here. Fingers crossed, everything should go well. As we don't know much about the motor, we just know it was a used motor from their buddy, along with the transmission. Same combination was in there, his car, so it should work. But like you said, we don't really know the life behind it and all that stuff. So yeah, so we're gonna put the wheel on the fender liner and start it up for you guys. All right, guys, it's finally the moment that we've been waiting for. We're going to start up the notch. Now this is our third fresh Holley startup. You guys unfortunately missed our excitement on the Super Sniper install because we lost the camera footage for that. So we're gonna try it again. We have not even started it yet. We know that the starter engages and that's it. So I'm gonna set up the camera. You guys will see us start it, set base timing. And then as long as all that works, we'll probably be pulling it outside, letting it heat up and making sure everything works. But everything on this thing is buttoned up. We need to put one 12-volt switch in the center console for the transmission overdrive, and then she's wrapped up. So let's just jump right in. Well, not as exciting as the vet, unfortunately. We have to diagnose a no spark issue, and then we'll be back with you. All right, guys, we're going at round 2 on this. So when we first tried it, we did not have a spark. It came out to be just the ignition settings in the Holley. We had it on CD box, but we needed to obviously have it on the dual sync distributor. So the difference is on the vet, we put it on CD box, it fired right up. Well, the vet didn't have a dual sync distributor, so that makes sense. We didn't even know that was an option, so we went through it again. So now we have it set up. We have the timing synced, cranking. What's weird is that the timing light seems to be flashing 2 pulses per RPM. So we're gonna dig into that real quick, but we're just gonna try to fire it up and then go from there. This is take 3. We hooked up the battery charger and it completely wiped out everything on the Holley. So we made sure that we have it on low amperage, but since the battery had low voltage, once we gave it voltage, it kind of cleared out everything that was there. So we had to restart everything in the Terminator. And now we should be mint. We have to double check the timing, and I think that's it.
I don't know if it's a tag on me. I gotta pull it apart anyway. But
Everything works?
what?
Everything works? Hey, welcome back. We are in the Yukon, and we are almost back to Dad's dealership. So we got the white notch finished running. You guys saw it starting. We've driven it. We've been shaking it down. So, you know, we always gotta like see what's going on with the cars, obviously. So this car was a complete build. Obviously had a bunch of used parts, but we want to make sure that it would at least work and drive well enough for them to get into tuning and doing everything with it. And we did find a handful of issues. We had a small oil leak that we had to fix, which required taking the intake off. The RTV didn't adhere to the block, so it must have been contaminated at the time that we did it. It happens. It's unfortunate, but it happens. So we got that fixed last night. Even prior to that, we were having... Oh no, that was pretty much the main issue. And then yesterday we got it running. Everything was good. We resynced the timing today after the intake was back on. We realized that the timing gun was not accurate, so we ran to ASSC, resynced the timing. Everything was good there, so that's all done and finalized. And then we were driving it. We're about 8 miles deep, and it sounded like the motor was going to fall out of the thing. It was not good. It was not good at all. So we pulled over to the side of the road. We let it cool down. We were 5 seconds away from our dad's, or my dad's, I should say, dealership. So we walked over there, grabbed his Yukon, went back to the notch, and started it up, and the noise was gone. So we limped it back to the dealership, so it was in a safer location, let it idle for like 10 minutes, and the noise came back. Then we ran and did some errands in the area that we're in, went back to start it, and the noise was gone. So when it's warm, it makes like a weird knocking noise. At first it sounded valve train, and then we really started listening, and then it sounded like rod bearing, but rod bearing doesn't come and go with temperature. So now we have a suspicious hunch that the flex plate on the back of the block is either hitting the converter bolts or the 50-ounce counterweight that's on it. That's our suspicion right now. So instead of grabbing the trailer, which is what we were going to do and probably was the smarter idea, we're going to kind of roadkill this, and we grabbed like a handful of tools, a jack, 2 jack stands, and we're going to see if we can fix it and drive it back. I have a pretty good feeling about this, so Dan, what do you think?
yeah, I mean, it seems to be like the only kind of issue that we can think of right now, because everything else, it's temperature dependent, doesn't make sense to us.
Yeah. It's odd. And it did it actually when we had the notch running, like the first time before we had to do the intake gasket. Like literally as I pulled up to the shop and put it in park, it started to do it and I turned it off. But like I turned it off as I was hearing it, not thinking twice about it. When we thought the rear main was leaking, long story short, we put up on the lift to move the inspection cover. And I thought I saw like a nick on the inspection cover a little bit. And so that's going to be the first thing that we pull off now and see if the grooves that were in it are worse. And thanks to Larry and John, you know, spitballing with them, they've actually seen this happen like a few times. Like the flex plate gets warm, or not the flex plate, but the block plate gets warm, and since it's bolted around the edges with dowel pins, it has nowhere to expand. So it'll literally like buckle into the flex plate. But man, she's look good. She got like a nice covered parking right here, right in front of the no parking anytime sign. Perfect. Not only are we parked there, but we're about to work on it right there.
Perks, I guess.
I think it runs and drives awesome. We're super happy with it. It's really fun. The Sumitomo tires make it feel like it has 1,000 horsepower, but it's not like it's self-tuned, and we have a pretty good timing curve in it for now, but we're not flooring it by any means. I mean, we probably got like 40, 50 TPS, if that, to try to get the learn to kind of accommodate. It idles, it cold starts, does everything it's supposed to do, so it's good. Now we just got to figure out what the noise is. So we figured we'd take you guys along for this
journey.
So we grabbed the camera, and now you guys will see. We'll set you up and see if you can see what we're doing. All right, let's do it.
And the New York dyno.
I don't know if that's gonna be in this video or not. The New York did get dynoed though. The New York car is dynoed.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I figured in case we had to grind down the converter bolts, that'll make quick work of that. If we have to dent in the shield a little bit, that'll make quick work of that. And we gotta lift it up, so we got the stuff to do that. What's the problem, Dan?
I didn't realize you had the angle grinder.
Well, you know,
The repertoire of tools that we brought.
that's what we gotta do. All right, let's get it. All right, we got the inspection cover off. Where is it?
Right here. Would you look at that?
It was gouging it pretty good. It pushed out the backside too.
Yeah, I think where it was making the most noise is probably right there.
I don't know. This is deeper than that.
Yeah, but that one I think would grind.
Oh, that would.
So we'll try that. Well, pretty interesting. So you heard it running, you saw it running, you heard the noise. The noise is something on the, it seems to be like the 50-ounce counterweight that's on the flex plate is hitting somewhere on the motor plate in between the flex plate and the back of the block. So we're going to get it to the shop. It's not making noise now. I kind of got in there with the pry bar and tweaked the plate in as much as possible. But we got to get it to the shop, get on the lift, get a camera up in there, see where it is, see if it's something that we could fix without dropping the transmission out of it, because we really don't want to do that. But yeah, it's either we do it or Don's going to have to do it, which that really stinks to have us put the whole car together and have to take the trans out. So anyway, that's what we got going on. We're going to get it to the shop and keep you guys updated on what the noise is. But you guys can see, it is freaking beautiful. And it runs really good, and it drives really good, aside from this slight mishap we have, which we have confirmed that is nothing detrimental, so that's good. Lots of powder coated stuff. Everything's all black. Looks really good. We're happy with it. And once we get this noise figured out, they will be happy with it too. Alright guys, that wraps up this video. By the sheer shrill sound of the V1, you can tell that the notch is back together and running, obviously. It's not leaking. It's got a little bit of drip from like rear main, oil pan, main cap area, which is typical and it's used. So, but it's nothing like it was before. It's all good. No drips on the ground overnight. The upper radiator hose was just barely touching the Vortec pulley. It did not do it in the shop. It didn't do it idling. It didn't do it moving around. But on the drive, we noticed it was at some point maybe on bumps. It was bumping into the pulley. So we shortened that up this morning. We're also getting an interference noise with RCA cables and the TAC input wire coming from the Holley. So we kind of separated those in the car because it's got an aftermarket stereo. But the RCA cables are really susceptible to noise. So you got to be careful with that. If this was mine, or if we were going to go deeper, I'd probably run the RCA cables right out of the radio and flip them underneath the center console, underneath the carpet to the back, and keep them away from all the engine wiring. That's just my opinion, or even down the driver's side. So we'll make sure we share that information. But it is sweet. It is done. It's been idling for a few minutes now, making sure it holds temp and idles. Alright, so in the process of doing this yesterday, you guys saw it started making noise. I want to show you guys the flex or the block plate that we cut out of it. We kept the outside rim of the block plate in order to shim the transmission properly, but we cut out all the center that was interfering, and you could tell it was interfering. We kind of showed you already, but now it's been running for a while and it's not making any noise. So we're going to call that success. So this normally would be on there like that. So we left the outer rim that goes on the bell housing. That might be easier to picture. That's the top of the block up there. But you can see where it was hitting. So it all happened yesterday. We stayed here until 1 o'clock this morning, pulled the trans out, clean it all up, put it back in, get it running so it can leave today. That's how we do it. That is how we do it around here. So we're happy with it. Now they're gonna go tune on it. I just want to give special thanks to Bob. Bob referred them to us along with Brian Griffin, and Bob's also been a huge help. It's all his parts that are in this thing, and he's been a huge help in diagnosing some of the issues that we ran into. So thanks, Bob. And we're happy to see this thing leave, and we're going to be even happier seeing it on the track. Should be a pretty quick little street car. I mean, this thing is probably going to make about 12, 13 pounds of boost. It's got cam, heads, I mean, everything that's on it. It should make, I don't know, I would say it's probably going to make 4.25, 450 at the rear tire because you can't lock the converter. But it's probably making 600 at the flex plate. And, you know, in one of these, that's easily a low 11, high 10-second car, very, very simply. Not with these tires, though. This thing needs a set of tires on it really bad. But that's it. We're not going to drive this much with you guys. We're not really tuning it. It's not tuned. So the drives that we have been on are just making sure it stays cool, make sure the transmission shifts properly. We're not beating on it whatsoever. We're just cruising it around, getting some miles on everything, make sure that it's all good, and shaking it down. And it passed all those tests now, and now it's been sitting here idling, getting hot, holding temp. It does creep up. It's got a manual of the clutch fan, so the temperature does creep up when it idles for a long time like this. But as soon as you get the thing moving, it'll stop. It'll come right back down. So the fan might be just on the verge of inadequate now that it's got all this junk on there. But you know, some simple timing changes can help that. You know, dialing in the idle might help that. But for the most part, she's really good. And well, like I said, once you start driving, it goes down, so you get some airflow in the front end. Anyway, that's the White Notch project, guys. We're really happy with it. I'm going to take a picture of it for all of our social media. If you don't follow us on social media, make sure you click the link below. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe so you guys can stay in tune with what we're working on and see how we go about our business every day. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.